to at least even for a short while sit together. And I was just looking at the questions that came in advance, and the very first one says, what is the Divine Shakti and why is it so important? So it's a perfect place to be together. So Shakti is power. That's what Shakti is that power. Now, with the divine, we've got three different aspects of the divine, three things that the divine does. The divine creates, the divine sustains, and then the divine dissolves. We don't say destroys, because what Shankar Bhagwan does is not destructive in a negative way. It's a dissolution. We spoke about this on Shivaratri. A dissolution. But all of these three aspects, creation, sustenance, dissolution. We say Brahma creates, Vishnu sustains, Shiva dissolves. Well, but with each of them is the Shakti. And without that Shakti, none of it could happen. Neither creation, nor sustenance, nor dissolution. And that's why you'll see in the Hindu tradition, with all of the divine beings, all the divine incarnations, or the divine aspects, whether we're looking at Bhagwan Ram, Bhagwan Krishna, we're looking at Shankar Bhagwan, Vishnu Bhagwan, all of them have their divine Shakti with them. And it's a beautiful teaching to remind us that Shakti, that power of the divine feminine, is essential. It's not optional. It's not secondary. It's not a second-class power. It's critical. It's essential. It is the essence. And then, of course, we have so many actual mother goddesses we worship. So divine Shakti is that power. Power of creation, power of sustenance, that which sustains us. Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Mother Ganga. These are powers of sustenance, that which nourishes us, nurtures us. And that divine Shakti, that divine feminine principle, that divine goddess element, is actually in all, not only in women. It's more pronounced, more accessible in women, but it's actually in all. But on this day of International Women's Day, it's the day that we celebrate the presence of that divine Shakti in our women, in our girls. And as I was sharing with all of my beautiful young sisters, young daughters, all of the young women we work with in the schools, in the communities, and of course all of the organizers and leaders who in many cases are men, many cases are also women. As I was sharing with them, there's two critical elements here today. One is the element for the women. Because International Women's Day is a day of reminding us that which is true 365 days a year. And the first message is for the women themselves, which is to remember that Mother Goddess is in you. Not just in a speck of you, but actually is you, is flowing through you. So many times women feel like we're not enough, we're not quite right. We're too fat, we're too thin, we're too fair, we're too dark, we're too rich, we're too poor, we're too smart, we're not smart enough. But there's something lacking in us, there's something wrong with us. And if we just could fix that, then we would be okay. Then we would be full, then we would be worthy. But this is a day of remembering that Mother Goddess is in you as you. Doesn't matter how fat or thin or tall or short or rich or poor, dark or fair, extroverted, introverted, doesn't matter. The creation comes in so many forms. We look at flowers in a garden. Every shape, every size, every color. That divine variety. And in the same way, the Mother Goddess embodies so many different forms, all forms. So to remember for the women on this day that we are the embodiments of that Mother Goddess. No one is less, no one is more. No one is better. No one is more worthy. We are that divine Shakti. And then there's the message, of course, for all. For the men, also for the women. Because the first message, of course, is for within our own hearts and our minds and our sadhana and our way of understanding ourselves, our way of living ourselves. But the second message is more of that which we do in the world. And when so many of us think about women's empowerment, women's rights, gender equality, we think about logistic programs where we educate, we train women and girls, and of course, today we were having a big program with all of the girls. We're educating, we're training, we're empowering through all of our programs. And yet, that's not enough. Bringing education, bringing training isn't enough. It's critical. There must be more of it. But as far as women's empowerment, as far as gender equality, it's not enough. Until and unless we've got women sitting at every table, making all of the decisions, along with the men. Tragically, in so many places, it's men at the table. You see the women when they bring in the tea, or the snacks, or the water. On so many stages, it's only men. You see the women when they arrive bringing a shawl or a flower bouquet for one man to offer to another man on the stage. And we won't really have any kind of empowerment, any kind of equality, until the women are at the tables making the decisions. The women are on the stages giving the messages as well. It's one thing to say, well, the women give it in the homes. Yeah, they do. And yeah, they should give it from the stages as well. And so it's a beautiful day of opportunities in the mind and in the heart of every woman and girl to know that the divine is in her. That no matter how less than we may feel, we are full, we are whole, we are divine. And it's a message for our communities, our societies, our companies, our corporations, our governments. That we can talk about women's empowerment and equality all we want. But as long as it's men sitting around a table making decisions, doesn't matter how many training centers we erect, there won't be equality. And until and unless there is that respect and love in our homes for the mothers, for the sisters, for the wives, for the daughters, we won't really have any kind of empowerment. So it's a day of opportunity. It's a day to celebrate, to love women, to love ourselves, to love each other, to bond in sisterhood. And it's a day to realize how much there is to be done in our own internal healing and acceptance and love of the self, and in our communities and in our world. So we take today, this Divine Shakti Day, as a day to feel that Shakti within us, to know she's inside of us, is us, regardless of what we've experienced, regardless of the trials and tribulations and challenges of our life. She is us. Not only when we perform, not only when we succeed, not only when we've got dinner on the table, not only when we look beautiful, not only when we do all of the things that the culture says as women we need to do, but all the time, every minute, every moment, regardless of what we're doing. She is us. Grace is flowing through us, as that Divine Shakti. And then we use that Shakti within us to bring healing and help to our sisters around the world, suffering in so many ways, dying in childbirth because they don't have access to pre- and postnatal care, spending half their lives collecting firewood, collecting water, going into the jungles to go to the toilet, dropping out of school when they start menstruating because they don't have access to supplies, being repressed, being oppressed, being harmed. They are our sisters. They are us. And then we use that Shakti within us to serve them. If we can take that, whether we're women or whether we're men, that Shakti is in all of us, for all of us. And I love you all so much. And I'm so touched we're able to be together on this special day. And I look forward to being back for our normal timing satsang from tomorrow. And have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful International Women's Day. Find that Shakti. Feel that Shakti. And then emanate that Shakti in the world.